Hello, everybody, and good evening. This is Lisa, Job Coach Germany. And as you can see, I'm not here on my own tonight. I have a wonderful guest. It's Lawin. Hi.
Hi,
It's,
Lisa.
hi, Lawin. It's great that you're here. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me and answering all the exciting questions that I have for you. But first of all, you guys, let me introduce Lawin real quickly to you. So he is from the Philippines and has actually quite a long history of moving to Europe already. Germany actually is not his first country, but I'm hoping that he will tell us a little bit more about his exciting journey. And he now lives in Aachen, where he also works. So, Lawin, let's dive right into it. What motivated you to start a life in Europe and then in Germany, actually?
Yeah, so this might be quite a long story. First of all, thank you, Lisa, for having me. Hello, everybody who's maybe watching out there. Yeah, so actually, I never really had any thoughts of moving abroad when I was younger. But in 2016, I did a Euro trip with my friend. So I had a Dutch friend. He's one of my best friends. I did the Euro trip. I went through Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, and towards the east. Went to some music festivals during the summer. And I think I was like 27 at that time. And I realized that, oh my God, Europe is so amazing. I've only been to Asia prior to that. And I just realized how much culture there is in Europe, how much history there is, and also just the fact that you can travel between countries without your visa, without a passport. And it's just, for me, this idea was just crazy. So I liked it so much. At the same time, in the Philippines, I was working for a really good job. Actually, it's one of the largest telecom companies there, one of the largest private companies. And working there for like 6 years. I had done my bachelor's, all my studies in the Philippines. And, at the same time, I kind of got bored of my lifestyle there. I mean, when you live in one city where you were born and raised and you work there as well, like you kind of get bored. So I realized that maybe I want something different. And after seeing Europe, I was like, oh shit, yeah, I wanna see how I could actually find my way there. And yeah, so I did a lot of soul searching. And after a year, I had found that the easiest way actually for me to find a job or settle down in Europe would be to study again.
Mm,
At that time, I hadn't done a master's yet. So it's normal in the Philippines, from your bachelor, you start working right after.
yeah.
I did a bachelor, and then I went to one of these European higher education fairs in the Philippines, and I found a school that I could actually do my master's in that was pretty affordable. If I had put all my money in it and borrowed some more money, I could actually afford studying a year in the Netherlands, which actually is not the cheapest option now that I look back. But it was an interesting option because I had a good friend there, and at
Mhm,
the same time, all their programs are in English, so the masters included.
mhm,
Um, and then yeah, so I studied in the Netherlands for a year, and then I'd finished my masters, and I was looking for a job for half a year. Tried to look in the Netherlands, couldn't really find anything.
mm,
The city that I was studying in was actually right across the German border, so it's
mhm,
called Maastricht.
mhm.
And right across the border is a city called Aachen, where I'm living now. And um,
Beautiful.
I, I I was actually just drinking with a friend. A
Mhm,
friend of mine got a job in Amsterdam, and
mhm.
during the we were drinking, I saw a poster for a job fair in Aachen. I was like, "Huh,
Ah,
this looks interesting. I'm gonna check it out. I'll take the bus, which is pretty cheap." So I took a bus. I'm in Aachen for like an evening, and then it's like 100 companies. But the thing about Aachen is that it's it's a very student city, but it's a technical university. A lot of the companies around here are very technical, and all the students are all engineers, IT, whatever. Did masters in mathematics or whatever. So I did my masters in business,
mhm.
and I was quite shocked that, like, oh man, all the companies here are just looking for engineers, or they're looking for people who could speak German,
Yeah.
or best case scenario, they could get like engineers who speak German. And I had none of these qualifications. So in this job fair of like 100 companies, I found two companies that actually didn't need anybody to speak German and didn't
Mhm.
need an engineer. I
Okay.
applied and I got accepted in one of these companies. So this
Wow,
is
congratulations.
This is a kind of crazy story, but
It is. And it actually tells, or it looks like there has been very active recruiting of people. Like the Netherlands have been doing some advertisement in the Philippines for people to actually move to the Netherlands and study there.
right,
Right?
sure.
So that's
Yeah,
how you found your way to the Netherlands.
right,
And then you went to a job fair in Aachen and you found a
right.
job. And how did, so I assume at a job fair, I know how it works. You normally go from company to company and you talk to them, and there are also recruiters, and then they will ask what you are looking for, what they are looking for. Did you
Right.
already have a small job interview at the job fair, or how did that work? How did you get the job?
Actually, I didn't. I was just like, oh, I approached the booth of the company where I work in
Yeah.
right now, and they were like, oh, we're looking for someone because actually some guy, he was actually from the US, was leaving the company, and they
Ah,
need someone to fill this role.
yeah.
And then I basically got their contact details, and I just
Yeah.
wrote them afterwards like a cover letter and sent my
Yeah.
CV. And yeah, and then I was quite lucky because I didn't apply for that many jobs in Germany, like maybe
Yeah.
2 or 3. In the Netherlands, I applied for, I don't know, maybe almost 100.
Yeah.
I got to a few interviews, but really couldn't um
Mm.
yeah,
Just get to the
get
next stage,
get
basically. And
exactly.
from my experience, there are a lot of people that are studying business in the Netherlands. So I think that the problem is that there are too many people in competition with one another if you want to stay in the Netherlands.
Right.
So for you, it was really lucky. You were at the right time, at the right place, and found the
Exactly.
right company.
In the right city, yeah, in the Aachen, like, you know.
Wow. And then so how long were you finished with your studies at that point
Right.
already, and you could start right away?
So I finished in September of 2018, and I went to the job fair probably in October or November.
Yeah.
I got accepted finally in December.
Yeah.
But because I'm not from the EU, it's a bit
Mhm.
more complicated shifting from one country to another.
Yeah.
So actually, I had to. So imagine this: I live in Maastricht, which is 40 minutes away from Aachen, the city that I want to work in. But I would need to go to Amsterdam to
Yeah.
have my work visa approved
Mhm.
by the German consulate there.
Oh,
So, and this whole process of like getting my work permit and
mhm.
my visa approved took around 2 months or so.
Yeah. Okay. So, but that is actually very quick, I have to
Right.
admit. I mean, obviously it takes quite some time because you have to still get your visa and so on. And
Right.
when you're talking about that time, was that last year during the pandemic?
No, 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 no. Sorry, that was in 2019.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Sorry,
okay.
I started working 2019 February, and
Yeah.
2018 December is when I got
Yeah.
accepted in the
Okay,
company.
yeah, because I was just thinking that some people that I'm talking to who are in the process of applying for jobs right now have the problem that some of the embassies are not open, or all of the like the entire visa process has been
Right.
delayed. So that was not your issue, but I mean that's still great that you were able to start right away. And
Right.
um, yeah, did you experience a difference in the culture from the Netherlands and Germany when you moved to Aachen?
Right.
I
Right.
mean, it's I guess it's different because you were studying in the Netherlands and then you started a job. This is
Right.
different in lifestyle anyway. But how
Right.
did you feel with the culture of the
Right.
people from the Netherlands and
Yeah.
the Germans?
I think although they're very close, like the
Yeah.
geographically close, the
Mhm.
language is also pretty close. A lot
Yeah.
about the culture is quite close.
Mhm.
There's actually pretty big difference in terms of like attitude, like
Ah,
personality. Like, of course, there are exceptions, right?
yeah.
But let's talk about like the average German versus the average Dutch person. Like,
Yeah.
I'd say like in general, like Dutch people are quite good with languages. Like
Mhm.
they all can speak English and even German to some extent. So I think in terms of like communicating, just like, buying stuff or saying hello or whatever, that was easy. But in Germany, you really need to learn German, which is not a bad thing, which is also not a bad thing, because if you learn the language, you're forced to learn the language. It also makes you integrate better with society. Because in the Netherlands, I know a lot of people who've been living there for 5, 10 years or whatever, and they never learned the language. So,
Yeah.
you never can really integrate with society. So I think that's one big difference, is the language. And I think in general, Germany. Well, let's not take into account Bavaria because it's a bit expensive there. But in general, like most of Germany is quite affordable.
Yeah.
Like even if I'm from the Philippines, like when I see some prices here, it's like, oh, it's pretty affordable. But when I was studying in the Netherlands, like a lot of things were super expensive for me.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think
That's
those are, yeah.
from the times when I visited the Netherlands, I can confirm that.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Yeah, that's true. And as you say, I think it's especially with the different cities and the different areas in Germany as well, that you are actually forced to learn German. And
Right.
from the people that I support with a job search, for example, it's great to hear that you can have a job and you can start in English, but still that you now say that that you're better off learning German.
Sure.
That's a very good hint. That's something
Sure.
that I always try to tell the people as well. And for a start, if you, for example, go to Berlin or Cologne or something like that, then it's probably normal that you speak English all the time. Whenever I visit Berlin, for example, I speak English as soon as I get out of the train. But once you want to progress in your career and once you want to like climb the corporate ladder,
Yeah.
it might be an obstacle if you cannot speak any German, because
Right.
this is what some people always say, like managers who tell, if you're asking for a promotion or something like that, they will always say, well, how's your German? How's your German? Is your German better yet?
Yeah.
And so on. So I guess it was a really good start for you to start in the Netherlands with the Dutch people and kind of getting a feeling already for the culture. And as I can confirm that there are quite some similarities.
Right.
And then now that you can dive right into your life in Aachen, and I assume that you're studying and learning German now, right?
Yeah, so actually since I moved here, I've been studying German part-time. So basically 2 days, 2 evenings of my week since moved here 2 years ago,
Yeah,
I've been doing German. Two
yeah,
2 hours and 15 minutes
yeah.
like 2 evenings in a week. So it's
Okay.
pretty intense. Like after work, imagine that you need to learn German. But I mean, I'm recently, now that I'm like more like intermediate level, so I'm B2. I'm studying B2 right now. I can feel the benefits a bit more. Like I'm able
Yeah,
to do stuff
that's
independently. But it's
brilliant.
still hard, huh? But
Yeah,
yeah, learn the language, but remember it's tough.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And when, I mean, you've been now learning German quite a long time. Was there any time, like a bump or just any stagnation where you just didn't want to learn any more German because you were fed up?
Yes, it happens a bit, but I just force myself. I
Yeah,
just really force myself. You have to.
yeah,
Like, as you said, like, if you want to go up in your career, I think it's
mhm.
important to learn the language. And actually, interestingly enough, yesterday during a German class, I learned something interesting, a term in German, vitamin B,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So
Oh,
this
that's
is important, I guess,
a
right?
career as well. That's really good. Yeah. So it's great that you're learning something like that during your German class. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. So, and
important.
did you have to look for the German class yourself, or did your company help you with that?
So the thing is, there were a few, well, there still are a few foreigners in our company, so non-German originally people. And
Mhm.
they also told me that, oh, there's this one school that you should do.
Ah,
And I've been doing it. And actually I've started there from the beginning until now, and I've been pretty happy.
yeah.
Even though obviously we had to switch to like a Zoom class
Yeah.
now,
Now
but
everything
it's
is
okay.
online instead of offline. But
Yeah.
normally you went to the school, like, yeah,
Right.
you went to an institution.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you have to speak German at your job?
95% of the time, no.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in English. That's because I work in business development. So it's kind of like sales account management for a software company in Germany,
Mm.
and I handle our customers outside of this like German speaking region or French speaking region. So like more towards Asia and Australia, these kind of
Yeah.
places, the UK. So I just do it in English. But there are some internal meetings that are still done in German. Some documents are still in German
Mm.
internally. And this like works council meeting, this is always in German, Betriebsrat. And
Yeah, true.
so I mean, but now that I have some colleagues who know I speak German, like they try to help me. They will help me practice every now and then. Yeah.
But that's really good that you actually have this opportunity to speak German,
Right.
and that they are encouraging you, because I think that's the hardest part, because sometimes the Germans want to practice their English as well, and
Yeah.
that's why they're speaking English all the time,
Yeah.
which doesn't really help anyone who's from outside and wants to learn the language. Okay. So that's interesting then. At least you have some time when you can speak German.
Yeah.
And what do you think is the biggest challenge that you have in your current role?
Yeah. So the thing is, the company I work in now and the software that we build is very different from my last role. So I didn't have experience with a specific type of software or even close to it. So I had to learn everything from scratch, basically.
Okay.
And that's tough if you have to learn something from scratch at the same time you're new to a country. So basically, I was learning everything from scratch: the language, the culture, the job itself. So
Yeah.
making friends. So like it was really like starting from scratch. But it's
Mm.
after 2 years, it's a bit better now.
Yeah, but I think that is very brave of you to do. It's a brave move that you have just it, just said, okay, I'm just jumping into the deep end, and I'll see how it goes, and that you're learning everything, or that you started learning everything from scratch. I guess when you go abroad, then it might be a little bit overwhelming at first, but if you're just simply enjoying the ride, it turns out like you, Lawin. It's just brilliant. It's just like you're enjoying it and you're having fun. And something that you also said, with all of these different things that you have to learn, it can be the overwhelming part, can be also cultural shocks. And that is something that I wanted to say as well. Lawin has a podcast, and this podcast is called Pop Your Cultural Cherry. And in one of his latest episodes, he also talked about cultural shocks, or things that he was a little bit scared of, like the Sundays in Germany, how they are
Ooh.
being, how they are working because everything is closed on a Sunday, and so on. And what was a cultural misunderstanding for you that you've experienced so far? Was there anything at work or in your private life?
I guess not really cultural misunderstanding, but more of like different expectations. So yeah, in a way, it's also cultural misunderstandings. But there's, I guess, in Germany, there's like a line between personal and work.
Oh,
Like in
yeah.
the Philippines and in Asia, this line is kind of blurry. So like my closest friends are actually my ex-office mates.
Oh, okay.
Like
Mhm.
Friday nights is automatically reserved for your office mates. Like
Yeah.
right after work, you go to a pub, you drink. Like there's no questions asked. Like
Yeah.
I don't need to say, "Hey, come." Like
Yeah.
it's just
So
assumed.
that's
And
okay. Okay.
yeah, and lunchtime is also just reserved, to
Okay.
to to chat with the colleagues. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's
So that's normal that you are very close with your colleagues as well, but in Germany that is different.
it's a bit
Mm.
it's a lot different, but I try to bring my culture as well to the company. So I try to do it, like
Yeah, but
influence
that's
people.
great. I mean, I always think it's a great addition if you have somebody from outside of the country and you can actually learn something more about a different culture. And I actually didn't know that about the Asians. I used to live in England as well, and there we had the same culture. So after work, you would go simply to a pub and have a beer together. But then in Germany, I would have never imagined going to a pub with my mates or with my colleagues.
Yeah.
It's just a strict differentiation between work life and private life. I guess it's only if you have like a very good friend, one of your colleagues, and once you get to know them. I also have the feeling sometimes when I compare how I am being welcomed in a different country, that people are a lot more open, and that the Germans are quite reserved at the beginning. So that we are more, okay, this person is from somewhere else, and if I open my heart to this person, just as a friend or even, I don't know, as a partner, then I might get hurt if that person goes back to their country. And that's what I feel why we Germans are reserved, because once we are your friends, you won't get rid of us.
Yeah, this is true. Actually, when I was doing that, when I was trying to research about this episode of mine about culture shocks, I came across this post on Reddit that actually said that German people are like coconuts. Like they're tough to crack on the outside, but once they become your friends, it's like a lifelong relationship. So
that's a very great example. That's really cool. Yeah, we're very softies inside.
Softies inside, but tough outside. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, very nice. Okay, that's a great picture. Perfect. I have to use that at some point. So, and another question that I'd like to ask is, what was the biggest surprise that you've had in the last few months?
Yeah. So given this whole pandemic thing, and a lot of businesses are losing money or like just closing down or something, I'm still a bit surprised. Well, probably we're doing a great job of managing it. That I didn't go into like Kurzarbeit. So here in Germany, like if your company's not doing well, they don't like just fire people. Like everybody kind of like works part-time for the company. And actually our company as well, last year we're expecting that it could happen at any moment, but 1 year later, like we're all still full-time employees. So it's a good surprise, and I'm really like thankful that I work for a company and we're able to manage this difficult time.
Yeah, that's true. That was a great surprise for everyone. And I'm very grateful that we are living here in Germany and that the workers are still supported as good as possible, basically. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, I've heard of a lot of people who have lost their jobs that are working, for example, in restaurants and so on, in the tourism field, but still, people are still being supported. And it's great to hear that people don't get fired because of that. But still, there is some solution there. But yeah, I understand that this was a surprise.
Yeah, it's a good surprise. It's a good surprise.
Yeah, that's good surprise, right? In a different country, you might have lost the job already. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And then, so what is an area, work-wise or in your private life, that you are continuously curious about and that you want to improve and where you're still learning? Does that maybe have something to do with your podcast or?
Yeah. Well, part of my podcast is just really understanding also cultures, and one of it obviously being the German culture. And I think the key to that really is learning the language. So once you learn the language more and more, the more you'll understand the culture. Obviously, I'm not at the top of the language level yet, but hopefully, like little by little, I start learning the language like at a high level, and then start learning more about the culture. Really getting to deep conversations with like old people or something in a pub or whatever. Get just But besides that, I think that recently a lot of time that personal time I've been spending is actually on declaring taxes in Germany.
Oh, right. I see. Oh, yeah, that's a topic. Oh, a hot topic.
That's a hot topic. Yeah, that's a bit.
Yeah. Okay. And have you seen, I know that because that's how I found you, that we are in these different Facebook groups for expats who are living in Germany. And there's actually this one guy who is the admin of one of these groups who has written like a blog article about that, I think, on how you can actually manage to claim your tax.
Right. Yeah.
So have you seen that yet? Because
Yeah,
otherwise, I'll
no,
send it to you later.
I've read a couple of blogs. I've also watched a couple of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Like I'm now in the process of doing it. I'm actually thinking
Mm.
of just getting like a advisor, tax
Yeah.
advisor,
Yeah.
just to make it a bit easier for the first time, and then maybe
Yes.
later on, then when I have experience, I'll do it
Yeah.
myself. So
That's true. And that's a good idea as well, because there are actually so many things that you can claim for which you get money back. That's very helpful to ask a tax advisor.
yeah,
And maybe there's someone that is specialized for you as well, because
right.
actually you don't even think about what you can claim and how you can get money back.
Yeah.
So it can be quite overwhelming, because it's overwhelming for us Germans too.
I know. For everybody, it's a hassle. Like not just foreigners, but yeah, obviously for foreigners because a lot of it's all in German, so it's a bit harder in
Yeah.
that sense. But for everyone, it's tough.
It's tough. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah, okay. But that's interesting. That's an area that you want to improve and that you're working on and reading about. And
Yeah.
if if there's anyone that is interested in moving to Germany, living and working here, is there any kind of advice that you can give those people?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say Germany's an awesome place. Like, try it if you have the opportunity. Obviously, there's a lot of benefits in working here. It's like, for example, for me coming from the Philippines, obviously the salaries are a lot higher than what we have
Yeah.
there.
Mhm.
The quality of life is very high, so you have a good work-life balance.
Mhm.
As I said, like in Germany, like I don't really, after work, I don't hang out with my office mates that much. But sometimes in the Philippines, I felt like I was forced to do it.
Yeah.
So sometimes you feel also you really have your personal time here,
Mhm.
and at the same time, just you can also see how you mean you pay high taxes here, but you can see how those taxes come back to you. So you have good roads, you have good parks, you have beautiful buildings and etc. Good public
Yeah.
transportation, you have free healthcare,
Mm.
almost free education and things like this. So I
Yeah.
mean, like a lot of things are more transparent, and you can
Mhm.
see that they work really for the public good. So like if someone's like interested in working in Germany, like I'd say give it a shot because like the benefits are really, I'd say, yeah, outweigh the difficult times obviously.
Mm.
So it's
Yeah.
not easy. It's not easy, but yeah, I think
Just give it a go and
just give it a go.
jump.
If it's not for you, you can go back, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, that's brilliant. And do you know how long you want to stay, or is that something where you say, like we say it in German, mal sehen? So,
Yeah,
like, we will
yeah,
see.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know how long I'll stay. I don't know if I'll stay or whatever. But I mean, at least right now, I'm really happy where I am, and yeah,
yeah. Okay, well, that sounds so great. I'm so happy to hear that. That's brilliant. I mean, you've actually had really great experiences, and that's really helpful for everyone that's listening to us here, because they see it actually works out if you're at the right place at the right time, and if you are just open to, okay, if I don't find a job in the Netherlands, maybe I just go by bus and go to the different
exactly,
country. Okay.
exactly.
Let me just quickly have a look whether there has anyone texted any comments.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
do, 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 do. Can't see anything right now, but maybe it'll come. It might pop up a little bit later, because I think there's a little delay in between.
Yeah,
That's not an issue.
sure.
So, what I wanted to ask as a final question is basically, where can people find you and actually listen to all of the
Right.
experiences that you share?
Yeah, so I started a podcast called Pop Your Cultural Cherry, as Lisa already mentioned earlier. You can find me on social media, so I'm on Instagram. I recently had to start a Twitter just because, and I don't really have any experience using Twitter. And
Mhm.
I also have a Facebook page, and
Okay.
you can listen to my podcast actually on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and any actually platform you use for listening to podcasts. So I'm available there.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
And Lawin, how did you come up with that name, Popular Cultural Cherry? Why did you choose
Yeah.
that one?
Yeah, so that's a funny thing because like a lot of like older people would actually think that, obviously popular cultural cherry has this connotation of like losing your virginity, but um more and more these days, younger people use this phrase to actually talk about your first experience for something. So I can say I popped my surfing cherry, which means I tried surfing for the first time. But in my podcast, it means like trying something cultural for the first time. And for me, that's really diving into German culture or European culture, being somebody from the Philippines, which is more than like half the world away.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's a really great a really great way of sharing what you've already experienced and what you've learned from the network that you already have from other foreigners who are living in Europe and who have experienced something like a culture shock or any like different traditions that we have. So it's a really great way. And I really am a huge fan of your podcast. I'm glad that you started this podcast because it's actually very valuable what you're sharing with the audience. And I can't wait to listen to more. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being my interview guest today. And I hope that we will still get some questions at the end. And then thank you very much. And I'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah. So yeah, get ready because it will be your turn now to be my
Yes,
guest on my podcast.
ready. Okay, thank you, Lawin.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Do you need
you.
me to stay to answer questions or? All right.
No, there are no questions yet, but thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank
Okay,
you,
bye.
Lisa. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.